My next guest served 33 years in the United States military, rising to the rank of three-star general in the highest levels of the Pentagon. He was the national security advisor to President Trump. After years of political persecution, he is here to share his story in the form of a new documentary released earlier this year. It's called Flynn, Deliver the Truth, Wherever the Cost. Would you please welcome a true American hero, General Michael T. Flynn. General, I think this crowd's a little different than the one if you'd gone to the DNC this week and spoke there. Probably wouldn't get that kind of reaction. You know, your story is one that is troubling. You had one of the most distinguished records in the U.S. military. President Trump picked you to be the director of intelligence and gave you one of the highest level jobs. And then the long knives came out from the establishment, the deep state. It must have been a shock.
Yeah, I say in the film, it's a great film, by the way. I talk about in the film this idea of how I served 33 years of my life in the military. 5 of those years, Mike, were in direct combat operations overseas in Central America, Caribbean, Southwest Asia, Central Asia, and the biggest fight of my life ended up being against my own government. And, if you watch the film, because a lot of people, it was 8 years ago when all this happened. So one of the things that I think people need to be reminded of is the damage of 8 years that President Obama brought to this country. And his idea about fundamentally changing America is a very real statement that he made. And as you fast forward into the 2016 campaign, which I think we're kind of in the throes of that again. We're in that sort of a war footing again politically, and Trump is, he's got a fight of his life again on him, and he's got some things that he's going to have to face here within about a month. But going into the White House, one of the dates, and it came out of my case, and it also came out of the Durham report, was the 5th of January of 2017. And the 5th of January, 2017, in the Oval Office, behind the Resolute desk, was Barack Obama. And he had in the meeting that time Joe Biden, Jim Clapper, Director of National Intelligence, John Brennan, Director of the CIA, Jim Comey, Director of the FBI, Sally Yates, the Acting Attorney General at the time, and Susan Rice, the National Security Advisor. That meeting, 5 January 2017, was the day that they decided they had to get rid of me out of the White House. And we have the evidence of it. It came out in the fight that we had going through after I pled guilty for a specific reason, and I talk about that in the film. It had to do with my family. And then we ended up pulling my guilty plea and then fighting it, and the case ended up being dismissed, which was a blessing. But that day in the White House, and that evidence has come out a couple of different times in my case and in the Durham report. That's one of those moments where we have to look back at our country and say, is it that bad? Do we have people that are that evil? And what I want people to understand, both that are in the studio audience here and also that are watching from home, that this is truly a good versus evil moment in the history of the United States of America. And the one thing that...
Yes, that's exactly what it is, John. Exactly.
And the one thing that people need to understand is that, in the long arc of history, whether it's our country or any empire that's existed over time, good always triumphs over evil, and we will continue to do that. We will continue to triumph over the evil that we are facing right now, and you just showed that in some of your monologue with the current heir apparent, in Vice President Harris. So we're in a very difficult time. I will say for the Christians that watch this show, the Christian voting bloc in this country, as you well know, is the largest voting bloc in the country, and we cannot, as Christians, sit this one out. And this doesn't mean that we're we're going to force our attitudes and our values and our religion on anybody. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm getting at is we cannot have, and I think in 2020, we had 30 million Christians sit the presidential election out. So about 65 to 70% of this country are Christians, registered voters that are Christians. And I think that, people have to show up. We have to get out there and then vote on the values, right? Vote on the values that you're supposed to espouse, like life, family. I mean, that's where we really have to engage. And I use this phrase, local action has a national impact. And what I mean by that, and it's kind of me being here and some of the things that I do around the country today, I go in there and encourage people at the local level to get involved in their local communities and take these local communities back.
You were combat tested.
Yeah.
You had a little more resilience and ability to deal with this. The average American would never have been able to go through what you were put through by your own government that you had served for over 33 years.
Yeah, I don't know what people do who have to go through that. And for everybody here and that's listening, the conviction rate by the Department of Justice, which has about a $30 billion budget, the conviction rate is roughly at 97%. So they don't seek the truth. What they seek is the conviction of an individual, because that's how they get incentivized. So, just watching that clip there, I mean, I've watched this movie over 100 times. We've showed it all over the country. We get great feedback. And it's very emotional for me because you saw that clip of my son. And one of the principal reasons why I pled guilty, and I talk about this in the movie, is because of the issues that he was going through that had nothing to do with legal stuff. It had to do with mental health.
Yeah.
And the government, the FBI, the DOJ, they knew that. And so they took advantage of that. And, and I'm one of those people, it's like my family, I would die for this country. I will die for I'll give my life for my family. So it is a fascinating and inspiring story of survival. And one of the things that comes out of it, and you meet half of my family, I have 9 brothers and sisters. One of the things that comes out of it is this idea that we can defeat this darkness. We can drive this darkness out of America. And my story, what my wife and I wanted to do is we wanted to use my story as the vessel to tell America this is how we can survive this mess that we're in right now with these people that are in charge of our country that are really turning this country, into something that it shouldn't be.
General, I think one of the great gifts that this movie provides for all Americans is that, number one, if this can happen to you, exactly, a celebrated, highly decorated, 3-star general, it doggone sure can happen to any of us.
It does, too often.
But the second message, you show not to give up and also to keep hope alive about this country. People need to see it, and they need to thank God that you were willing to go through the very fires of hell itself for this country and your honor. You came out on the other side the right way. I want you to give General Flynn your warmest appreciation. He is an American hero for us. You can visit General Flynn's guest page at Huckabee.tv for the information on how to watch this fascinating documentary. It is one you do not want to miss. So please, go to the website, find out how to get it. It's available in a lot of different ways, and I hope you will. If you haven't subscribed to the channel yet, I hope you will now. The button is just below this video, and there's a little bell next to it. If you click on those, YouTube will reluctantly start letting you know when we've got a new video uploaded.